Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Bill, and today we're going to tackle one of the most overlooked yet most critical areas of any ServiceNow implementations. And this is your foundation data and identity architecture. Most people jump straight into building apps, workflows, or cmdb integrations. And one of the common pitfalls, if your foundation data is wrong, your entire ServiceNow ecosystem will be unstable. So today we're going to break it down step by step in a way that connects both the technical capability and the business outcome. And we'll look at how Active Directory, HR systems, and identity providers all work together to form the core of authentication, authorization, and user lifecycle management. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on that notification icon and join as a member so you can follow as I build a full series that walks you through the architectural layers of service, from identity to CMDB, from data flow to governance. And this channel is all about helping you building it the right way. And this is what we'll be covering today. We'll start with the building blocks of Active Directory, and we're going to move forward with the structure of Active Directory specific to a global landscape. And we'll move forward for the common pitfalls in building a foundation data model, and we'll go straight to what is recommended, why is it beneficial, and finally, we'll move forward with the strategic takeaways in implementing it to give you a better picture on your successful integration in building your foundation data. You need to understand what are you integrating to. And in this example is the Active Directory. So what is the Active Directory? And one of the common pitfalls is being mistaken as an identity provider. So what it is really, an Active Directory is a database. It is the source. So what it contains is basically multiple users, groups, group policies, organizational units that will basically contain a user profile or user profiles for the many users. And that will be the building blocks of a core of the source in a single domain. And the domain itself is quite huge already. And if you are used to like implementing an in-country company, which is only have local users, then you will not even touch the domain and you are only utilizing the data source, which is a local Active Directory. So meaning in a single domain, and in this example, which is APAC, you could have multiple, which is located in multiple countries. And as a practice, and depending on how the company is structured, they could have multiple Active Directories in a single country, depending how many islands they have or how many departments or subsidiaries. And then it grows to a much broader landscape. And you will see that the complexity of like integrating with a single domain itself requires knowledge in ensuring before you feed users and groups in service that this information is already assumed to be established. And as we move forward to a much complex data structure, what you will witness, you are now basically combining multiple domains. And now you can imagine from the previous slide, from a single domain which has multiple countries, and as you go on a broader aspect, which we call the forest, which contains of multiple countries, multiple domains, and now becomes a forest. Now keeping track of each user groups in every domain will become a pain point for you. And this is something you need to ensure the correctness that your data is not replicated. And one of the key questions to you is ServiceNow meant to basically maintain the integrity of the users and groups, and you could have about 88,000 employees or more, which needs to be populated from different sources into ServiceNow. And users and groups is one thing, and you need to also look at who they're reporting to, what department they're in, and how you could basically manage the political structure from a requester down to multiple approvers as a simple example. In a theoretical aspect, you will find from documentations that you can integrate with Active Directory. And this is correct, but that is too generic as a data source. And now you have a picture, the complexity that you are integrating to multiple countries in multiple domains. Now the data, as you basically dive in to ServiceNow, then you have to manage it correctly to ensure not only the security aspects and access, since information and data has its own ownership, and mentioning data residency, data policies, data access, to name a few. So the political aspects and governance has to be considered as you populate those information in service. Now it becomes complex for you to manage, and these are valid questions. And as you basically communicate with your client, and it could be an enterprise architect looking for after a global company, you need to ask the right questions. So you will come out experienced or an experienced resource that has the ability to help global companies like what we are describing now on this example. Now in reality, A, which is I shortened as the forest, as you are now familiar what the forest is, this is only one source. And you will have multiple HR systems per region or per country. So the forest will not be enough to ensure that you have managed to populate those people who need that in this new platform that they'll be using, which is ServiceNow. And imagine the amount of data, the amount of data integrity that you need to manage. So technology-wise, you can do it, probably in this layer, or you could have another layer here to ensure integrity. But that is hard to maintain. And in an implementation, a clean data is assumed by ServiceNow implementers to ensure that you can basically focus on what's value most in the ServiceNow platform, which is a system of record and also a system of action. So this is what I recommend to make your life easy and to also ensure that you will be able to populate the ServiceNow platform with the correct foundation data. So this is one of the key questions that you need to ask for a global company if they already have an identity provider. So I'd like to emphasize that Active Directory is not an identity provider. It is a data source or a database of users, groups, schemas, and so on. And the database will be populating the identity provider and other multiple HR systems. And the IDP is responsible to ensuring there is no duplicates, the correct structure is basically implemented. And now as a ServiceNow architect and implementer, you are now confident that your users and groups are correct. So now you will see that it becomes a shared responsibility from the ServiceNow expert, the platform owner, and also the enterprise architect. As you become more smart in your implementations, you become more productive and efficient and can focus on the key areas which provides more value to the end user. Now, to simplify, these are the key benefits once you integrate with an identity provider. So the removal of duplicates already done for you. One of the key features of the IDP is a unified single sign-on. Although it can do more, we are just focusing on foundation data and the capability of the single sign-on as they keep authentication, authorization, and privilege access management in a single point of glass, which is IDP. And that is not ServiceNow responsibility. And the political aspects is the responsibility and accountability of the end users. And ServiceNow as one of the toolset that provide a system of action and a system of record can now focus on what matters most. So this is the key takeaways that I'd like you to learn from this video. It's a matter of like prioritization. And as you prioritize, you can be productive and efficient in a shorter period of time. And ServiceNow key strengths on top of like being a system of record and a system of action is the cmdb. And I have invested a lot of video that you will see at the end of the screen that will guide you in ensuring that the data integrity, no duplicates are rendered from multiple sources. And as a ServiceNow architect, and as you do your implementation solution with clients, this is what you need to focus on: mastering the cmdb and how it can help the client, and how you could basically help them in that journey in establishing the CSDM. Now, if you made it this far, it means you're serious about understanding ServiceNow architecture and doing it the right way. And I'd like you to like the video if it has given you a clearer picture of how identity ties into service. And if you want to go further, join my member community to follow the key best practices of ServiceNow architecture and implementation. And as you subscribe and hit the bell icon, I'm going to give you a full picture on what are the strategies from building foundation data, providing a maturity model of the CMDB and governance, automating workflows until you achieve the CSDM model. I want you to remember that good architecture isn't about adding complexity. It's all about simplicity and clarity. And I'm Bill. I'm here to help you design the ServiceNow way and how enterprises should do too.